Hey, live around the world from LinkedIn, it's the mistakes that make us. And now, your host, Mark Graban.
Thank you, Elisabeth. Thank you very much. We have a lot to get to today. It's really nice to have you here. It's great to have our audience here. Welcome to the first birthday party for my book, The Mistakes That Make Us, Cultivating a Culture of Learning and Innovation. I am your host. My name is Mark Graban. We are live on LinkedIn around the world with no delay. It is almost 3:02 p.m. in Cincinnati. So let's again say hi to my co-host, Elisabeth Smart. She is author of the book, Picture Yourself a Leader. How are you, Elisabeth?
I am good, Mark. I am live with you here on LinkedIn, and I'm psyched to be here.
Yeah. So I think we're going to have a fun format today. We're going to have a number of special guests popping in, or at least that's the plan. Think of this as part panel discussion, part talk show. It's like, I don't know, it's like a Zoom meeting and a webinar had a baby. And that baby is mostly fun, but it's also a little chaotic and scary sometimes. So, but here we are.
Yeah.
We're here.
We're going to do some live polling throughout the live stream today. And to get this teed up on your smartphone, scan the QR code on the screen. You can see on the left there. This code's going to be open for 2 weeks through July 11.
Yeah, so go ahead and scan that QR code, and we're going to prompt you at a couple points during the session here today. I'll post the final results in a blog post. Where else? leanblog.org. If you're watching this recording before July 11th, you can participate. You can scan this QR code. You'll see updated live results based on that. If you're watching this recording after July 11th, hi, hello, thank you, but you're out of luck. Hopefully you can join us if we do this again. So our themes today, though, are admit mistakes, reacting to mistakes, learning from mistakes, and I think we'll have time to talk about psychological safety as a foundation for all of that. So before we bring in our first couple of guests, and we're going to do our first polling, Elisabeth, tell us, if you would, a little bit more about yourself.
Happy to do that, Mark. So the name is Elisabeth Swan. So if you've seen the Pirates of the Caribbean, I was played by Keira Knightley. So I have a large background in piracy and decades in problem-solving, process improvement as well. So hence my connection to mistakes and Mark.
Yeah. So I've got to ask, do you have a fun fact? Or I should even ask first, do you even like sharing a fun fact?
Oh, God, yeah. Let's see. Fun fact for me is that I once spent the night on the top floor of the Empire State Building. We'll
do a segment called follow-up questions. And feel free, if you have a follow-up question, including why was Elisabeth at the Empire State Building up at the top, you can put that in the chat. But it's funny, a lot of people don't like sharing fun facts. We've seen this. We go around introducing ourselves at a conference or a meeting, and it's almost an obligation. Like, give us a fun fact. Fun fact. I thought of this earlier. I have seen in airport land both Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at DFW Airport in the terminal, and then I sat directly behind NBA great Bill Russell. Ooh. I sat directly behind him on a flight, and if he needed to recline, I wasn't going to complain. He's tall. But sometimes people don't like the fun fact, and maybe they're a little bit afraid to say. So we're going to do our first poll. I'd love to hear from people here answering this first question. Do you like sharing fun facts at work? And maybe as a quick bonus, if you want to put that fun fact into the LinkedIn chat, that'll help get the polling started. And while that polling's coming in, I'm going to admit, maybe we'll delve into this more. We started a little late. That was my mistake. That was a technology problem. We'll get into that a little bit later. So if I seem a little more flustered than usual, it was that stress of, okay, because I had that clock animation like very well timed to what the top of the hour was going to be.
Perfect, Mark. It was perfect.
But I'm a recovering perfectionist. That's a fun fact. Maybe. Fun is always in the eye of the beholder. But so the votes so far, 5 yes, 7 sometimes, 2 no. Fun fact from Michelle, who's joining us. I met my husband in World of Warcraft.
Ooh, I like that. That's
fun. I don't know exactly what that means, but that sounds fun. That's a game.
I think it means it's a game and you meet other gamers online, right? And you can chat and you can get to know people separately, I think, in online games. You and I are clearly not in the know, but that's what I've seen on TV shows. All
right. Oh, we got another fun fact here I'm going to throw up on screen. Rebecca, I hung out with Ric Flair and his wife for a while without realizing who they were.
Hey, Rebecca. Nice.
So, very cool. Thank you for sharing those fun facts. And if you're watching and don't want to share a fun fact, that's great too. I would love to learn a little bit about where people are from. So this is a poll format that I haven't gotten to play with before. You can actually click on the map. Someone's already done that. All right. Looks sadly like little explosions happening. So that's grim. Where are you joining us from, Elisabeth?
I'm joining you from Cape Cod, Massachusetts, just about an hour south of Boston. So where all the states are tiny and the dot would obliterate like in all of New England.
Yeah. So I'm going to come back to that. I want to make a couple announcements while people are telling us where they're from. We are doing a book giveaway contest. It's open for about the next 2 weeks. If you'd like to win a signed paperback copy of The Mistakes That Make Us, I am going to put that link in the chat. So if you want to click that, you can enter. You may have to copy and paste the link.
And how long is that one available?
The 16 days is not so accurate now. I think it's open for another 2 weeks. So if people are watching the recording, if you can find that link in the chat, it's not the QR code on the screen. That would have been helpful. That's a lesson for next time. So there's the giveaway contest, and then today and tomorrow. Whoops, that is not correct. What is correct? See, I am flustered. Someone said in the chat, you don't seem flustered. Thank you for that. We're doing a sale price on the book, The Mistakes That Make Us, on Amazon. $3.99 for the Kindle and $9.99 for the paperback. So that price is going to be there just for a very short time. So you can search Amazon for that because I do not have the link handy. Did I mention this is about mistakes?
No, Mark, I don't think that's been clear. So maybe you want to follow up on that.
So I'm going to belabor that point and hopefully stop making mistakes. But we're going to bring our first couple of guests in. Okay, we've got the map here. We've got a bunch of people in Texas. We've got people in other parts of the U.S. It's the evening in Europe. They've got better things to do on a Friday evening. So I
don't think so.
I won't fault. Yeah. I won't fault that. So, okay. So our first topic is about admitting mistakes, and I'm going to bring in first off a colleague of mine from KaiNexus. You're on stage now. Kaleigh Krauss, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Mark, for having me.
I'm glad you could be here because you are the Kaleigh involved in a mistake story that I shared in the book. We'll get to that in a minute. And then it's a surprise to me that this guest actually accepted the invitation.
Yeah,
Darth Vader coming to us, apparently working from home. Can I call you Darth? Wait, I think you're muted. Lord Vader, you unmute.
No, the appropriate title is Lord Vader.
Lord Vader. Thank you for being here. Kaleigh's in an office. I'm surprised Do you work from home on Fridays, Lord Vader?
I'm actually.
No, it is part of the Emperor's new hybrid work program.
Well, hopefully that's not a mistake. Thank you for. We'll come back to you. Lot to talk about. Kaleigh, you are in an office. Tell us, is that a mistake?
It is not. I like to come into the office every Friday morning. It's definitely not a mistake if they provide us breakfast. So
That breakfast tacos.
this morning we had breakfast biscuit.
That sounds good.
Oh, you know what? I made a mistake. Now more people are voting. This is not a fun fact. This was a mistake. When you move the screen in Menti, it moves us with you. We can't answer on the map. I know that now. Okay, so thank you. We've got more votes coming in. We've got a North America crowd. Fun fact from Kyle Kumpf: I've been knocked over and almost trampled by an NFL lineman.
Hello, Kyle. I'm so sorry to hear that.
We'll get Kyle on as a guest someday to talk about that. Thank you for sharing your fun fact. So, all right, we are going to talk about admitting mistakes. Got a lot of them. I was going through the front matter of a copy of The Mistakes That Make Us the other day. Not because now it sounds like I sit there and I read the praise about my book, which is obnoxious. That's not what I was doing, but I was looking up something in there, and I stumbled across, for all of the proofreading and all of the cycles of finding defects, I found another one. There's a letter I missing in Professor Burris's blurb of the book. So it's good that that's fixable. That'll get fixed in upcoming editions. And I'm trying to remember Karen Ross's advice to be kind to yourself when you make a mistake. And I'm reminding myself that now with the mistakes that I've made in the process of today's webinar. So there's that mistake. Which
is particularly egregious since that was a PhD that you had that typo there in his. Yeah, that's bad.
But we're going to do another poll, and we'll talk about mistakes, and I will not jump ahead while you're trying to answer said poll. I'd love to hear from our panel and our audience. To the best of your ability to recall and be aware, how many mistakes have you made today? Like, I made 4 mistakes in the last 20 minutes before we started. Lord Vader, I feel like I should let you go first. Have you made any mistakes today?
Today? No. I was at one incident with the Death Star, though.
Oh, that's what we're calling. Okay, the incident with the Death Star. Kaleigh, Elisabeth, you making any mistakes today?
I know I almost spoke or responded instead of Vader when you asked him a question. I made a mistake when I first joined this call. I clicked the link to share the webinar instead of joining the back end. And I definitely made some mistakes on my way into work. I took a wrong turn. So
mistakes to learn from. And I'm glad you feel comfortable admitting a mistake. That's something that we do, I mean, at KaiNexus. I mean, I think people generally feel safe to admit mistakes. That happens in Friday team calls quite a bit, right?
Very much so. I think we have a very healthy culture of open and honest communication. And I think it goes without saying, as a continuous improvement company, we're very open to understanding that mistakes provide us an opportunity to learn and grow. So if we provide an environment that is psychologically safe for us to do that, the mistakes come out easy and they feel less and less like mistakes.
Yeah. And when people admit mistakes, there's generally, I've heard so many stories about people getting helpful responses instead of being blamed or ridiculed or getting in trouble. And I think, that's a key for people to be able to keep improving. We try to do that. How many mistakes have you made today? The average, it looks like it's 3.8. I don't know if there were even any votes where people said 0. I see some 1s and 2s and other mistakes. So I'm going to share my mistake, though, and I'll tell it quickly because we have some other guests that I want to get to and move things along. About 15 minutes before going live, I noticed my internet was a little slow, but it was working. So I went and rebooted the router, which took a couple of minutes, and it came back up, and it was actually working slower than before the reboot. And then I thought, well, I better go reboot the router that comes in with the fiber, and I unplugged it. I plugged it back in. I hit what I thought was the reset button, and then Elisabeth's getting panicked texts from me about, well, now I have no internet, which is worse than slow internet. And I'm glad I went back and looked again at the box, because what I thought was a reset button was actually the power button. So I had plugged it back in, but it was powered off. So if I hadn't gone back to physically check the box, it would have been even worse. So that's my mistake. I'm willing to admit. And
my sort of thoughts on that was that no one would believe you that, this wasn't prefabricated, that you hadn't set us up and made the mistake just because.
I do not need to invent fake mistakes. I make enough real mistakes, and so it goes. I'm trying to work on that, but I want to share the story with Kaleigh. Oh, yeah, and people are putting comments in there. Keith stopped counting at 4 today. So. All right, but as you can see here in the book, I mean, this is a true story. When Kaleigh joined the KaiNexus team, I sent an email. I think we're going to try to set up a call. Let's get acquainted. And I spelled her name wrong, as you can see in the box there. Thank you for not confusing me by intentionally spelling it wrong. Kaleigh spelled her name correctly. I typed Kayleig. It was intentional, but it was wrong. And before I remember, either you kindly corrected me, or I noticed when you replied, like, "Oh, I'd spelled your name wrong." Not the biggest mistake ever. Mm-hmm. That probably happens.
Yeah, it happens quite frequently. With a name as uniquely spelled as mine, I think Kaleigh is typically phonetically sounding like Kaylee. So I feel very comfortable with my name being misspelled frequently. So I don't take it as any slight. I just take it as a sign that someone needs it's like a quick, gentle redirect. Oh, thank you for addressing me. My name is spelled like this, and giving them an opportunity to just identifying and just giving them an opportunity to correct that moving forward. But in this case, Mark, you responded right away. Oh, I'm sorry that I misspelled your name, and I didn't think anything by it, but I did appreciate you getting in front of the mistake and admitting it to me, and that made me feel a lot more comfortable in meeting up with you. We were scheduling a Why I Joined KaiNexus webinar, and I recognized that your ability to admit your mistake made it much more easy for me to open up to you and share more personal experiences with you during that session.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And, as I said in the book, not to belabor this mistake, but, there was a knowledge mistake. And now that I know Kaleigh's name is spelled without a Y, there's always that risk that I still might slip up. And I've probably done it, I don't know, but that would be more of a slip or a lapse or a execution error, as opposed to being a knowledge-based error. So here, I'm actually going to, that polling is going to be open, but I'm going to take it off screen. We'll come back to that. So Kaleigh, I'd like you to come back in, but I'm going to send you backstage for a minute. We will see you again later, removed from stage. And I'm going to bring in, because I think she's got limited time, I think here, Karyn Martin.
Yes, hang on.
You got a birthday hat.
Hang on, I got a birthday hat, and I've got a birthday candle. Happy birthday. And I've got a mistake. That one works. This one doesn't.
You should have led with that one. I've never seen a candle in a book before.
I was a Girl Scout. I figured out how to do this. So happy birthday, make a wish, and I'll blow out for you.
Okay.
Wish? Okay. There you go. Yay!
Oh, I love it. That's great. Thank you for that, Karyn.
Is Deandra on? I kind of bought this in thinking about Deandra and her crowns too.
Yeah, and I had invited Deandra Wardell. She had a conflict today, so she was unable to join us. But thank you, Karyn, for joining us. So we're talking about admitting mistakes. Let me put the polling back up real quick. We were asking people, did you admit a mistake to somebody today? And so far, the polling coming in, 6 yes, 1 no. So we have a lot of people who said admitted to themselves or admitting to us. Yes, admitting a mistake and being able to do so. Yeah, that's a good sign. We're going to talk later about psychological safety. It's a good sign when people feel like they can admit a mistake.
I'm going to share with you, Mark, a little, and Karyn and Darth,
Lord Vader.
Lord Vader. I was a little too familiar on that one. So in this household, when one of the two spousal units makes a mistake, the appropriate phrasing is, you were right and I was wrong. And so, and we've gotten, and it's usually accompanied by some laughter, but to be able to admit the mistake formally, kind of on record, goes a long way toward harmony.
Well, it sounds like to be very direct about it.
Yeah.
Can be helpful.
They don't slide. Yeah. You come out, you say, yep, that one's on me. Because the next one, if it's not on you, that's going to be just as direct.
I admitted a mistake today. I didn't know how to answer, but I admitted one with a guy that couldn't get into our platform. And he had, in January, changed his email address, emailed me, or I was the one that got the email. I changed it, so I thought, and he wasn't able to get in. But comedy of errors, then this morning when I passed it over to James on my team, the guy actually had a typo in his new email address. So then James copied and pasted the new email address into it, and it still wouldn't work because the guy put a typo in his email address. So we finally got to the bottom of it because I knew the name of the company pretty well. And I looked at the domain. I'm like, oh, there's a typo. So he's finally able to get in, but 2 errors. And I quickly emailed him and said, I'm so sorry that in January I didn't do it right.
Yeah.
So
I'm reminded of a mistake that occurred once, not my mistake, but I had been exchanging emails with somebody, and I swear they sent a reply email that said, I need you to send me your email address. I'm like, it was right there. I mean, okay.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Everyone's still voting. We have a lot of people saying they're admitting that they admitted a mistake to somebody. So thank you. Thank you for doing that. I'm going to see what happens when I add a 5th person to the stage here. It still works. Okay. So before we move on to talking more about reacting to mistakes, I've got a special guest here today. He is an old friend of mine going back to elementary school days in Michigan.
Wow.
Correct? Yeah.
Yes.
Not a mistake, but he is Don Coon. Don, how are you?
Not too bad, everyone. How you doing? And Lord Vader, of course. Right off the bat, admit one mistake. I failed to wear my armor today, sir, on my my hybrid workday.
So tell us tell us about the website that's on screen there, 501st.com. I wanted you to be surprised by our mutual friend.
Definitely surprised. Yeah, 501st.com. That's going to be the 501st Legion, which is a Star Wars costuming group that's worldwide. I think there's 15,000 people. Essentially, most every country has some nerd in Star Wars armor or some kind of costume. Usually the bad guys, and the whole point isn't just to dress up and play classic spaceman. It's actually for charity and community events and things like that. So just tens of thousands of dollars and go to Make-A-Wish Foundation or several other charities. Our local group in Michigan is the Great Lakes Garrison, and we also have the sister organization, the Rebel Legion, and the Great Lakes Base. So there's enough Star Wars to go around for everybody, but the hospital visits with sick children and community events like parades and other things like the Detroit Tigers Star Wars Night for Major League Baseball and hockey and things like that. People just forget about all the problems for that few minutes, and they smile, they take pictures, they go home, and when they show their picture to somebody else, they're not thinking about their bills or the pains. Or it's great. It's just I want to take a hobby of sort of crafting things and turn it into something that makes people happy and some charity.
Well, I appreciate that you do that. People can learn more 501st.com, or as I said it, 501st.com. That will also get you there, and you can request an appearance. There are ways to try to request a virtual appearance or an in-person event for the Great Lakes Garrison or other locales.
No charge. It's all volunteer. This is it's just out of the goodness and nerdiness of our hearts.
Yeah. So Don, it was very special for me to be able to collaborate with Don. He did the artwork and we collaborated back and forth. So thank you for what I think is a really outstanding and interesting book cover. And if you want, I hope you didn't think that was a mistake to dive into this project with me. Like, we're old friends. They say, don't do business with friends. We ended up not fighting. So that was good.
It was an absolute pleasure. As anyone that's on this has, you've met Mark. He's one of the best. Fantastic guy.
I'm not always a pleasure to work with, but no.
But honestly, in my case, it was a really enjoyable collaboration and interesting and funny and really. You're very thoughtful in your commentary. It's not just, I don't like that color. You give reasons or want to know reasons, and it was like I said, absolute pleasure.
Well,
it's a great cover.
Yeah,
really nice.
Do you like fun facts, Don?
Most.
I did actually vote on the fun facts, but yes, I also, if you can see it,
fun fact has got a T-shirt with the exact inner structure of the book.
Yes, but to go quickly to a mistake, if I aim straight at the wall, hey, I'm a designer, it'd be really cool to have paint the walls black. Yeah, and then I have a giant screen because I do graphics, and that lights me up like a nuclear bomb. So it's kind of a mistake, but I still like The Office.
Thank you for admitting that. Don and I are both geeks about the movie This Is Spinal Tap. So with that black wall, it begs the question of how much more black could it be?
None. The answer is none. None
more black. Yes. So, well, Don, thank you for being here today, and we'll include you and bring others into the conversation. So we're going to talk about reacting to mistakes. We're going to leave that polling up, but no, I'm going to come back to it because it doesn't work that way. So I made a mistake, I think, in the sequence of these slides. But when we talk about how we react to mistakes or how our leaders or colleagues are reacting to mistakes, I think it's helpful to move beyond punitive reactions. Firing somebody, yelling at them, demoting them, getting in trouble in some way. And a lot of times people can really get on board with that. Of like, okay, punitive reactions are counterproductive. But then a lot of organizations react in ways that are quote unquote nice, saying things like, well, don't feel bad. I know you didn't mean to do it. It's okay. But I think as our friend Karyn Ross, friend to a lot of us here on the screen today, I'll introduce you to Karyn, Lord Vader. She's written a book called The Kind Leader. I think that would be right up your alley.
Are you making a suggestion, Mr. Karyn?
I am humbly submitted for you to decide. Now, see, I'm getting scared. But being kind is more constructive than being nice. Kind is about helping the person, and to help illustrate that, she couldn't join us today. Karyn Ross was kind enough to do a video. It's about 80 seconds. I'm going to just play. Here's Karyn Ross on nice versus kind.
Hey everyone, Karyn Ross here with just a couple of thoughts on why it's more important that leaders be kind to people who make mistakes at work than nice. First, a quick definition of kindness. Kindness means that we focus on others and create a positive effect and outcome for them. When you're a leader, the people who work for you are your responsibility and you need to help them learn and grow. Nice generally means something that's easier for us, to be polite. And many leaders don't really want to have a confrontation when someone makes a mistake. They feel bad about telling them because they know that people feel bad when they make mistakes. However, if you don't actually point out the mistake to someone in a kind way, you don't have to denigrate them or demean them. Point out what the target was, what actually happened. Ask them how it happened, what you can do to help to prevent it from happening again. Then, when you do that, you can help people learn and grow, and you can also prevent the mistake from happening again. Might be harder for you, but it's better for others. So take the time and the patience and practice kindness.
So a great message from Karyn, and we're going to bring the polling back into the mix for people to continue there. I'm curious, for our panel, do you have anything that you would add about nice versus kind? Well, actually, before that, I should ask Lord Vader, would you like to make the case for punitive?
It has worked for me in the past.
It's worked for you in the past. Okay.
Yes.
It's good to know. But anyone else on the panel, would you like to talk about nice versus kind? And I'm gonna bring Kaleigh back in here too.
I think that she makes a fantastic point that kindness is better than just being nice and trying to smooth it over and not really talk about it anymore. In the world of marketing and graphics, and where things are getting printed and there's lots of costs involved, admitting a mistake at any point during the process, early and often, ideally not repeating mistakes, but if the employees are able to admit the mistake, and then the reaction isn't, like I said, not yelling or punitive, but more. My approach tends to be, okay, what can we do to set things right now? We'll figure out after that happens. Okay, we get it back on track, and then sort of deconstruct it and say, all right, what can we put into place? Whether it's more checking or get a second proofreader, something to prevent it from happening again. And almost never focusing on, well, you did X, Y, Z. It's okay. Here's where we are now. How do we move together as a team to get through this and get back good? And it's better to approach it as that, and they recognize, oh, my leader is with me on this journey, not looking down from the ivory tower saying, don't do that again. And so that tends to work really well, and people tend to react well to that.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
I'm interested in what happens for Kaleigh, a KaiNexus, right? Because you've got this culture, right? And you're focused on the psychological safety. So how does it work there? How do people sort of address the reality of, stuff goes wrong? Not just you admitting a mistake, but being able to talk about a mistake someone else made.
Yeah, I think it comes with different levels of vulnerability. And it also depends on really who's admitting the mistake and in what forum. I think one of the most powerful ways I see mistakes being made actually comes from our leadership, and they set some really good examples. We had a former team member who always did a really good job, especially in our team meetings, our Friday morning team meetings, of saying, hey, I made a mistake. And not just admitting the mistake he made, but then also talking about how, what steps and what accountability he was taking to make sure that didn't happen again. And was using that as a learning lesson for everybody. It's like, hey, if I made this, I can recognize that this is bigger than me, and anybody could make a similar mistake. One that I think is funny, or another example, it's kind of funny, but we had an incident where a screen was shared with in a customer meeting, and something that maybe a customer shouldn't have seen got shared, and it caused some tension between, the KaiNexus team and that customer, and that was a pretty big mistake. But instead of hiding it, keeping it under wraps, the leadership team came out in front of it and said, hey guys, this is what happened. How can we learn from this, and what can we take as an action item to make sure that we're preventing this in the future? And we check in and we keep ourselves and each other accountable by continuously practicing things that we admit or we find. So I think the leadership, by promoting them or coming out with these, admitting these mistakes in like a very public forum, makes it much easier to say, hey, that could have happened to me, that could have happened to anybody. And it makes me more likely, and I feel like my other coworkers more likely, to admit the smaller mistakes, pull that end on cord earlier, and not hide or feel ashamed when they've made something or done something that they're maybe not proud of.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Thank you, Kaleigh. I'm going to ask Karyn. I know she has something to add, and she needs to hop off, I think, soon. So, Karyn, I think you're muted, but I'd love to hear. Okay.
I love kind versus nice conversation. It's a subtle difference, but it's a really important difference. And one of the things I find is very helpful is to constantly think about everything from a curiosity mindset. So when a mistake occurs, so first of all, it's helpful to also understand that people are not usually intentionally making the mistake. It's not an intentional thing unless it's some kind of sabotage. But and so that's the first thing. But then the next thing is to be clear about what the mistake is actually likely resulting in. But then, out of curiosity, to Kaleigh's point, learning why does this happen? Why did it happen, and how to prevent it again? But remembering that curiosity mindset, to me, is 90% of responding in the right way, where it's kind, but also if it's a big problem, you need to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
And so that theme of learning from mistakes is something real important. I'm putting in the chat now. Karyn and I collaborated on a mistake-proofing course that's available through her company, tkmgacademy.com. And you can use discount code birthday20. I just realized there's a mistake in what I posted into the chat. Birthday 20 should be all together. And not quote marks. So there's like a double mistake. I'm going to throw that into the chat. So if you'd like to sign up for that course, there is a discount code that you can use, again, to get 20% off. So Karyn, thank you for doing that. Thank you for collaborating on that. Before we go, do you have a fun fact? Fun fact for us.
A fun fact. Hi. A fun fact. About anything? About mistakes? About...
We're introducing ourselves in a meeting. This is where people get put on the spot. Karyn, give us a fun fact. And sometimes we're like,
Fun fact, well, maybe it's not surprising. I taught aerobics for years and years and years. And I was a cheerleader. So part of my passion for improvement comes from that legacy of, that kind of rah-rah and getting people excited and helping them, enjoy.
Well, that's fun. And thank you for bringing the fun hat and birthday candle in the cake. I took a screenshot of that. So thank you so much for joining us, Karyn.
Well, happy birthday. And it was wonderful collaborating with you on the course. The book is fantastic. And you're doing a very important service by, shining a light on mistakes in a way that hasn't been shined before. So thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Karyn. All right. We'll see you.
Bye-bye.
And then, Kaleigh, I'm going to bring two other people into the conversation. I appreciate everything that you've shared about admitting mistakes and reacting to mistakes. Did I ask you for a fun fact?
I don't think you did.
Give us a
And
fun
I
fact.
should have prepared one, assuming that I would have been put on the spot as well, like every other panelist. So I'll go.
You can decline the fun fact. I try to.
No, I don't
real
mind. One of my fun facts is that for the majority of my life, I was jokingly called everybody's imaginary friend because I did not have a birth certificate to prove that I was born. So everyone joked that I did not exist. That is my fun fact.
That is a
good one.
Unusual and fun fact. So, Kaleigh, thank you for being here. It was fun.
Thank you for having me.
Have a great weekend.
Hey,
All right. So then we see the poll results here. It's unfortunate. I've used this survey question a couple of times in different settings. It's kind of a bell curve, kind of skewed like this, more nice than kind. So, we try to address that in the book. Karyn Ross, again, taught me so much about the difference between nice and kind. She has a great book called The Kind Leader that I would recommend and encourage people to find out. Lord Vader, I'm gonna mute you. You're a little breathy on the microphone. All right, I'm gonna mute you. Thanks for being here. Okay. I'm gonna bring in two other guests here because we're going to talk about psychological safety and continue the conversation about mistakes. First, I'm going to bring in old friend of mine, Jamie Flinchbaugh. We've known each other going back 25. It's going on 25 years.
Yeah, at least. I think it's over 25 years.
But Jamie and I host a podcast occasionally called Lean Whiskey, where we talk about lean management, lean manufacturing, lean healthcare. We also sip a little bit of whiskey. It's not like the show.
That's what I'm here for.
It's kind of late in the Friday, not quite late enough in the afternoon.
Maybe not.
We can have a bourbon virtually afterwards. Jamie is author of books including People Solve Problems. You've got a podcast of that same name.
Correct. Yep, and you were guest number 2.
I wish I'd done better.
Well, my 15-year business partner Andy Carlino was guest number 1. So.
Oh, okay. Right. This is episode numbers, not a ranking.
Correct.
I thought you were saying I was the second best. How would you relate problems to mistakes? Kind of related words, right?
Well, yeah. So I think problems are a gap, right? Whether it's predefined or not predefined, problems are a gap. Mistakes are one way in which a gap is created. There's other ways gaps are created. Sometimes the goal changed, but sometimes things just fall apart. Sometimes we did things perfectly, but it still doesn't produce the result we want. That's still a problem, but it wasn't a mistake. So I think mistake is one of the inputs to what becomes a problem. But if you flip it around the other way, you can make a mistake and also not end up with a problem, right? So you can make a mistake, but it doesn't produce a gap. It doesn't produce an outcome. So they're interrelated, but there are filters in between where mistakes don't have to create problems, and just because you have a problem doesn't mean there's a mistake.
Yeah. All right. So here, I'm making another mistake. I'm going to bring in another guest here. I think very well equipped to talk about psychological safety. I haven't known Alan as long. Alan Wikler. Could you introduce yourself for the audience? Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me, Mark. I'm a psychologist who worked in the VA Medical Center for 30 years, and half of that time was doing clinical work, and then I got involved in performance improvement and lean. And Mark, I want to congratulate you on your 1-year birthday. Actually, it's the book's birthday, so I should congratulate the book. You've got your own birthday.
I requested no gifts.
And I'm glad to be among all of you.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. Do you have a fun fact that you like to share? We do that introduction-y thing.
Yeah, I was trying to think of one. You gave a sports example, meaning sports figures. I haven't met any. I have a baseball signed by Casey Stengel,
Wow.
which is a nice thing to have. That I was able to get when he was managing the Mets. That was a while ago. So I've been around for a while.
Somebody in the LinkedIn chat gave me a wrapped box emoji. There we go. Thank you. Thank you for that. So we're going to talk a little bit about psychological safety. That's something Alan and I have had a lot of conversations about. Alan was an early reader of The Mistakes That Make Us and gave a lot of feedback along the way. So thank you, and happy to have you be part of this conversation. So I just want to share real briefly, make sure we're on the same page, and we're going to do some other polling. Amy Edmondson from Harvard Business School, author of books including The Fearless Organization, her most recent book, Right Kind of Wrong, defines psychological safety as a belief that one will not be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes. I mean, we could call this, I think psychological safety gets misunderstood. People hear the words and they think it means different things. It's really more of like speak up safety. Do you feel safe speaking up? So, Alan, do you have anything you would add to kind of add some flavor to that definition, or what psychological safety is as opposed to what it's not?
Yeah, well, I think I would go a little more broad than Dr. Edmondson. That it's not just about speaking up, but it's about trying new things and being free to experiment. And that is a great way to learn things, and it's a great way to do improvement work. That if you don't have psychological safety, you're not going to learn from your mistakes. Someone has to tell you, it's okay, and what can we learn from that as well. It goes back to what you're saying, Karen Ross's difference between being nice and being kind. Or not being kind. As you said, people don't feel good when they make a mistake. They feel bad. Right. And so being kind, you need you said this before yourself, Mark, that psychological safety is sort of a foundation, or I would call it a prerequisite, any kind of performance improvement. If you don't have psychological safety, when something goes wrong, somebody makes a mistake, they're not going to admit it.
Yeah.
And so you need to have that. It is absolutely a prerequisite. And that's the first thing for an organization that wants to make a change towards doing things differently. They're going to make mistakes. They have to feel free to make mistakes without being punished. And to speak up, as Amy Edmondson said as well, that if you don't have the psychological safety, people aren't going to speak up.
Yeah, and I think behaving in ways as a leader that helps people feel safe is so much more effective than telling people, you need to be brave, you need to be courageous, you should be vulnerable. Like, vulnerable means you are putting yourself at risk. So I think
Absolutely.
Leaders can do things to help cultivate psychological safety.
Yeah, Kaleigh gave us a great example of that earlier, of leaders making it okay for people to speak up, and by admitting their own vulnerability. And Mark, you probably admit more mistakes than anybody I know.
Is it a problem now?
No, I think that's great, and it makes all your guests feel comfortable, and you can probably, that's your key to getting people to speak up in all of your webinars and podcasts.
Yeah.
I mean, is it because Mark makes more mistakes than anyone else you know?
Not that I know. No.
I don't have data to really help answer that question. I try not being hard on myself. So, but one thing I wrote in the book, I'm going to bring in one other guest here. One thing I wrote, and I believe very strongly, is that a person's ability to speak up it's not a matter of courage or character. It's about culture. And I don't know exactly the words there, but I think somebody who helped me with words in the book is our next guest. This is almost the Brady Bunch. I wish I had brought 9 people in. Tom Ehrenfeld, who is also an old friend and served as the editor for my book. So he had to read all the stuff that was really bad, and he helped make it better.
Hey there. Hey, Mark, Elisabeth, Alan, Jamie, Dan. How's everybody doing? Thank you for
Don, little mistake. It's okay. I know Tom well enough I could point out a mistake and it'll be okay. But I'm happy to have Don and Tom, you together for the first time, because you are both the Spinal Tap fanatics like I am.
Yes. Okay.
Yep. None more black.
None more black.
No more black on the cover, yes.
You missed Don's story. I'll fill you in later about the story of painting his wall black and the problem that created. It was a mistake. So, Tom, thank you for being here and being part of our discussion here for the last 10 minutes or so.
I am as happy to be here as I was working on the book. Pleasure.
Well, thank you. Very nice of you to say. So I want to give a shout out, and we're going to do a final poll here. Someone else I've been fortunate to be influenced by and read his book and was able to take his class. Timothy R. Clark, author of a book, The 4 Stages of Psychological Safety. And he has this framework that I think really builds upon the work of Amy Edmondson and others. He breaks this down into these stages that a team progresses through. Inclusion safety. One question we would hope to say yes to is, can I be my authentic self? Lord Vader, I think, has no problem being himself. Correct? Wait, no, you're muted. You're muted again. Oh, wait, no, I thought you were saying something. Okay. Did you have something? No, you muted again. It's got to be difficult with that helmet to navigate our archaic technology here. But anyway, back to the stages. Unmute yourself if you want to chime in. Learner safety. You can get a droid to help you with that or something. Stage 2, learner safety. Can I learn and grow? Can I ask questions? Can I admit mistakes? Stage 3, contributor safety. I meant to put this up on screen. Can I contribute and create value? And stage 4, challenger safety. Can I be candid about change? Can I admit that things could be better? Can I bring ideas forward? Can we be innovative? So I don't know, Alan, is there anything else you would add before we go to the poll about my quick synopsis of 4 stages?
No, I think that's very good.
So I'm going to open up the poll, and we'll leave that open.
Tom's got a question.
Actually,
I didn't realize we were calling on people. Okay, Tom, go ahead.
No, I just before all this ends, I just want to share one reflection from working with you on the book, which is that I really valued the way you went beyond mistakes. It's not about any one mistake, but based on all your research, all the great interviews, which were really vivid and resonant, that you kind of reframed this as a mindset, cultivating a culture of learning and improvement. So it's really not about one sexy or colorful mistake, but rather cultivating a mindset where you learn from it and you move forward. And I think one of the things that was really exciting about seeing the manuscript develop was seeing how your kind of insights and takeaways formed, and you refine them into, I think, a very clear set of takeaways.
Well, thank you for your help. And Tom, as a developmental editor, was helping not just with commas and punctuation, other punctuation. I've learned all of them by now, I think. But word choice. I mean, he was really helping me think about the big picture of the structure of the book. So a developmental editor versus a copy editor. Thank you for that help, Tom.
Yep, definitely. Pleasure.
Okay, so we're getting votes on the polling, and those votes can still come in. On a 1 to 10 scale, 1 being strongly disagree, 10 being strongly agreeing, mapping to those 4 stages. Do you feel included, accepted, and respected? Do you feel safe to be yourself? Second question, I feel safe to learn, ask questions, admit mistakes, say, I don't know. That's learner safety. Do I feel safe to contribute fully without being micromanaged? That's an aspect of contributor safety. And then I feel safe to challenge the status quo and share improvement ideas. So we can see the different averages and boy, the distributions there, where sometimes people answer really low numbers there on challenger safety. But I'm curious, from the panel, what are some things that you've done to help people feel more safe to challenge the status quo?
I think one thing that is you have to get into a habit of it, right? Mm-hmm. And so to simply remove the barriers to challenge, I think that's of course part of the equation, right? Remove those barriers, but when you get into the habit, you actually have a chance to test those barriers, because you can remove all the barriers, and past, call it trauma, if you will still prevent you from challenging. So there's an example of, I won't give the company name, but it's called the challenge process. And basically everybody's expected when they're making an important decision to reach out to their boss, their peer, their directs, and they're expected to challenge them. That's the expectation of that conversation. And it starts to develop it into a habit where you just know, because they've come and invited you many times, and you do that enough over and over again. And when you do it and it didn't result in something bad, you get more comfortable in the free form moments as well.
Yeah. Thank you. Hey, heads up, Kaleigh, who's still backstage. I'm going to bring you back on stage as we wrap up here, because now it's a nice 4x2 grid, and I like that symmetry, and it's been nice having you here. Tom, did I ask you for a fun fact? I should be tracking this.
No, but I put one in the comments earlier. Once in Cambridge, pre-caffeine while I was waiting at the high-rise bakery, they turned around and behind me was Yo-Yo Ma, and I was so startled that I immediately did Not Worthy from Wayne's World. Right in his face.
In your head, or you mean no, you actually?
No, I did it. I did it, and he was very gracious because, honestly, what an asshole. I just
don't say that about Yo-Yo Ma.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
a fun fact.
That's a fun story. My mother-in-law, fun fact, was at one of the New York airport's ticket counter, and the person in front of her turned around as it was done with the counter, and it was Willie Nelson.
Oh.
And she said hello very quickly, and what a dream of all the people I've run into in airports. I would love to run across Willie. He's in his bus, but most of the time. But
the airport?
He was at the airport.
Okay.
Willie Nelson has to fly sometimes, flying high.
Tom, I was going to follow up on yours. I ran into Yo-Yo Ma at a hotel in Vienna. He was bringing his dirty laundry downstairs.
Oh, okay.
It was a little different.
No, our stories each concern dirty laundry, but yeah.
There's a fun fact from a LinkedIn user. I'm going to read it. For Lord Vader, according to actor Rick Moranis in the original script for the 1987 film Spaceballs, Mel Brooks film, the description of Dark Helmet was that the whole costume was one gigantic helmet. Then it got scaled back to just an exaggerated version of the Darth Vader helmet. That's trivia. It's fun. That's fun trivia. That's a fun fact.
That's good. Nice.
So, well, gosh, this has been fun. I'm very grateful that you all showed up as our panelists, and thank you to Karyn Martin for being here. Thank you for anybody who took time on a Friday afternoon to have some fun and to watch this. So to recap, We started a little late because I thought it was necessary to reboot my router, and instead I turned the modem, and instead I turned it off. So thankfully recovered from that a little bit. We've talked about not just fun facts, admitting mistakes, reacting to mistakes, learning from mistakes. We touched on psychological safety. So I want to thank everybody for being here. Is there anybody who did not get their fun fact in?
Well, I didn't, but I'll make it really brief. I can pull off Charlie Brown costume just by putting a yellow shirt on.
They take off the glasses and then.
Well, then I bump into things, but yeah.
And I don't know if I chimed in with an actual fun fact. Been on stage performing with Weird Al Yankovic.
Nice.
That was in costume.
That's a big one.
A good one,
In
Don.
costume, but yeah, it's there are times when you look around like, what am I doing up here? It was cool, but why am I up here? So.
All right, let's see. Oh, I tried unmuting Lord Vader, and it says you cannot unmute him because he chose to mute himself. But thank you for being here, and Don and my friend Todd, who is there in the costume. Thank you for what you do. You can learn about the 501st. No, I still keep saying that wrong. I still want 501st.com. Like it's spelled.
It was right. 501st. 501st.com.
People spell out five. It's like writing a check. 500 and first. Do you have that URL?
Just 501st, like you said before. It's 500 first. Just 501st. Think it's quasi-military sounding. But just 501st.com.
All right. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for the work. And if you want to invite them to be part of your event virtually or in person, go to the website and you can invite them. And not just for people in Michigan. There are locations all around the country. Elisabeth, thank you for co-hosting.
Worldwide.
Happy birthday to your book, Mark. Your book, not your book, Mark.
I do have to report Mark about the book. But yes,
come on.
The book's anniversary. Thank you for that. Kaleigh, thank you for being on here and sharing a little bit about our culture at KaiNexus. So my little name thing on screen was covering up my shirt. Tom and Don, thank you for your contributions to the book. It was a real pleasure and a treat to work with each of you. And thank you for making this a far better book than it would have been without you. And Jamie and Alan, thank you. Thank you for popping in here today. This has been a lot of fun. So maybe we'll try this crazy little setup again sometime.
Anytime, my friend.
All right.
Hang on.
All right. Thanks, everybody. And again, a couple quick reminders. I'll put it in the chat. If you're still on special book discount pricing through tomorrow, $3.99 for the Kindle version, $9.95 for the paperback on Amazon. And there's also a link if you want to enter to win one of 3 signed copies. I'll make that, make sure that was in the chat. So we've got people saying thank you, great session, perfect for a Friday afternoon. All right, it was a lot of fun. So all right, I think we will sign off. I don't have a video to play at the end of the show like I did at the beginning. There's an idea for next time, I think. So all right, take care.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.